After having two of some of the best episodes in the entire series, Season 9 brings us a more lighthearted and weirdly wholesome episode with surprisingly good character moments, except for Jerry. This is a breakdown and review of Episode 3 of Season 9, Rick Fu Hustle. See, unlike the last two episodes, we go back to the usual two plot structure the show has, one involving Rick and Morty, and the other involving Jerry, and what on earth am I looking at? As a result, I'll touch on that plot here and there because, I don't know man, what else is there to say about this? One thing I'll say though is that this pool for some reason has become a big focus point for all of the episodes so far. This is either building up to something, or the writers are indicating that the status quo is slowly changing. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here. I wouldn't be surprised if this pool was actually something Rick was cooking up for some elaborate scheme of his. So the main plot begins when Rick accidentally backs up into this kung fu guy's car. It's clear from his appearance alone that he's based on Shujinko from Mortal Kombat, Pai Mei from Kill Bill. He wants to exchange contact details, but Rick tells him to fuck off because he's a petty asshole. What I love is that Rick calls himself a Doctor Who Loki, characters many of the fans have compared him to over the years. He then calls the old guy an NPC, and he strikes him with the 5-point palm exploding heart technique from the Kill Bill films. If Rick now takes 5 steps forward, he'll die. I honestly just feel bad for Morty, man. Poor guy's been wanting to go to Boob World for ages, and now he's stuck dealing with this nonsense. Rick then tries some tests, only for Morty to say, "Haven't we done clones enough?" A clear reference to the many episodes involving Rick's cloning shenanigans in the show. Morty then tells him to stop being a bitch and go apologize to the guy, but Rick says,
"Day I apologize will be because I am truly sorry."
Now I'm gonna ask, when's the last time Rick actually apologized?
Sorry, Morty made it weird.
Further proof this guy actually loved evil Morty. Jerry then tries to clean his pool using this mini robot, then goes to GooTube to find a tutorial. A 3-hour tutorial. A nod to the many YouTubers that extend their content a ridiculous amount for no real reason. Hey, shut up! The video then tells him to download a variety of LLM patches that supposedly fixes the robot. About time the show started poking fun at AI TBH. Oh, by the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here. Breakdowns of Season 9 of Rick and Morty are coming every week, as well as big character recaps and analysis I usually do. I've done one on Evil Morty, Beth, and Rick Prime, and I might do one on Rick C-137 when the season ends. Leave a comment down below if you guys want that. Morty then comes across Pai Mei again, but they kind of bond, and he teaches Morty Kung Fu. That is until he realizes this guy's a psycho who performed the heart technique on a cable guy for literally just doing his job. Morty is briefly critical about this, resulting in him getting heart technique too. Meanwhile, Rick builds an advanced limitation suit before comforting Morty. Now, I know this is supposed to be kind of funny, but it's actually so wholesome to see Rick care for Morty in this way. He even calls him
my little poopa!
They then go to Lu Sen's master's palace atop this long stairway. Classic kung fu stories always have the giant palace at the top of a seemingly infinite number of steps.
Come on! Come on, you! Almost there. What? No! Oh, no! I'd be pissed if I had to climb all these stupid steps with my legs.
Yo, how good was Kung Fu Panda 1? They tell Lu Sen's master what his student did, and he says that Lu Sen sucks, even stating that he killed his cat. Stupidly, his cat's name is Queef Richards. I feel I don't even have to explain why that's funny. Oh yeah, small animation thing I noticed. Since we can only see Rick and Morty through these screens, the animators have to be very conscious of how their faces look outside of them. What I noticed is that when Morty looks at Rick in the shot, shouldn't his pupils technically be unseen, not just pointing up? I'm not an animator or anything, but it's just something I noticed. Anyways, the two help the master out in fixing his relationship with his daughter. Somehow, Morty is more mature than this experienced ass kung fu master. This actually reminds me of the time the two helped out Scary Terry in that nightmare back in season 1. After that, he performs a technique on this machine that whips up a cure, and the two are ready to take out Lu Sen. They arrive and explain that they now have nanobots in their bloodstream that make them also know kung fu, resulting in yet another insane fight sequence. A running theme this season apparently. You know what? I honestly wonder why this show's animation isn't talked about enough. Or maybe I'm just so used to What I love is that this is the first time in a while where Rick and Morty are on equal fighting ability, trying to take out some guy together. I bet Morty deep down feels accepted, especially after the whole will they won't they with evil Morty and Rick. Now obviously we get a myriad of standard kung fu tropes littered throughout the fight. Morty then gets hit with this inflated punch, turning him into the guy from that Little Bits commercial.
Some fucking shit, you fucking stupid bitch. Just kidding.
The next part is really interesting. Rick gets amnesia punched and he asks,
"What am I doing here? And which Beth is the clone? Control C punch! Now I remember, this guy sucks!"
Yeah, I could tell you that Morty punch might have made him remember that forgotten memory, but as we learned before, it's not like he ever knew which one was the clone or not. It's just a cute nod from the writers that storyline really doesn't matter anymore. Upon escalating, they are greeted by this guy, who is apparently the mascot of Hawaiian Punch, Punchy. In Rick and Morty, he's supposedly an ancient demon god of hitting things. So stupid. He then summons his champion named Punchenheimer. I guess that's a reference to Oppenheimer? I'll touch back on this briefly later. Lu Sen then tells Rick something very interesting. He He apologizes and says to him that he backed into his car on purpose.
I'm a lonely old man. The only way I know how to connect with people is through conflict. Can you relate to that?
But don't flatter yourself. There's always AAA, you fucking cocksucker.
Don't fucking establish canonical backstory with me, you red line.
You shit on my toilet because you don't know your place.
Sorry, Morty made it weird.
We were never a thing.
Uh-huh. No.
So they jack Lucin up with those nanobots and perform a technique that can take out Punchenheimer. Punchy then congratulates them for learning to set aside their differences. Another classic trope in kung fu movies, the episode ends with the Smith family inviting everyone to the house for a pool party. A surprisingly wholesome ending to the episode. Look, even Rick is having the time of his life. Now, when I first finished this episode, all I could think about was how it was very similar to the Netflix show Beef. I haven't seen the second season, so I'm just going to be talking about the first one. The primary inciting incident of season 1 is almost identical to this episode. The show is about two strangers who beef with each other, all because they almost crash into each other at a parking lot. Because they've got nothing better going on with their lives, they continuously come at each other until things escalate massively, in the most petty, disgusting ways imaginable. Now, the show is actually a lot more complex than just the premise, detailing themes like self-love and unconditional love, but it's honestly really fitting for Rick to be placed in such a situation. He hasn't really improved his mental health all that much ever since Rick Prime died, and instead of apologizing to Lucin, he decided to escalate. Because as Lucin stated, deep down, Rick only meaningfully connects with someone through conflict. Think about it. Remember Tony, that guy who shit in Rick's toilet? Despite Rick constantly saying,
Fuck you.
What?
He's not my friend.
by the end of that episode, he was deeply distraught that Tony had died, and he enjoyed creating conflict with him. Mr. Nimbus, his supposed nemesis, is another person he supposedly had a connection with, especially since Nimbus literally name drops Diane in his first appearance. This also happens with Evil Morty, as we saw, and honestly, in a strange way, Rick Prime. Do I even need to mention Bird Person? Rick is so far gone, he can't make meaningful connections with someone unless there's ridiculous and sometimes petty conflict. Another similarity to Beef is that both the main characters and Rick share a deep sense of loneliness and a tendency towards self-sabotage. Even so, it is deeply wholesome to see Rick look happy after the dread he experienced in the last episode. It's great, but like Rick would say himself, it's fleeting, and he'll be back to his depressive nature in no time. I also thought there was a connecting theme about the dangers of technology versus quote-unquote natural living. This is seen through Jerry's refusal to get the pool boy to clean the pool and his decision to fuck the robot, as well as Rick cheating the kung fu system by building a machine that not only heals him, but teaches him kung fu. Oh, and there's the fact that the robot at the end is called Punchenheimer, a reference to arguably the man who truly displayed the horrors of technology. The thing is, in one of these plot lines, technology fails, and in the other, technology prevails. Despite this not being as deep or insane as the first two episodes, I still really enjoyed it for what it was. After all, you can't have every episode be as amazing or as deep as those two, but it's still very entertaining. I hope we get more episodes focusing on Summer and Beth later down the season, because they've barely even had speaking roles so far. If you're new around here, please subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed. Short one this week because there's not a lot to unpack. The less I say about Jerry's plot, the better. As I said, weekly breakdowns for season 9 are coming. If you want to support me further, follow all my socials, join my Patreon, and consider grabbing my book, The Shattered Absolution, heavily inspired by the shows I cover. And I want to thank you for watching.